Am I the a-hole for not having my little sister at my wedding because she accused my little brother of touching her inappropriately to her therapist just to get attention? I, 23 female, have a 16-year-old little sister who was adopted at an older age and came with a lot of trauma. Despite having been in therapy her whole life, it does not seem to be helping. She recently accused my 19-year-old biological little brother of touching her inappropriately, and she even told her therapist, so it became a bigger issue. She has a history of making up stories about every single person in the family to men online. She craves attention, good or bad. This is not the first incident where she accused someone in the family of abusing her and it was all a lie. Since the therapist got her to admit she was lying about my brother, nothing legally happened to him, but he is very traumatized by the situation. I felt awful for my whole family who lives with her and what they all went through. My parents were so sad about it, and my whole family cried together when they told me. I do not think my sister is sorry for what she did, since she has said nothing about it to anyone, and she has not apologized directly to my brother either, and my wedding is only weeks away now. I do not feel comfortable having her there. I just want the wedding to be a happy day where everyone there is comfortable, loves and wants the best for the groom and me, and that no one will maliciously do something to destroy it. I feel she needs to rebuild trust with me, and it will take time. Am I the a-hole for not trusting her? Now for the top comments. My younger sister once accused me of being drunk and aggressive to her. She was about 13. I was not drunk nor aggressive, yet social services had to get involved and investigate. I haven't been alone in a room with her since. If it's me and another responsible adult, I'm good. If the other adult leaves the room, so do I. She's 16 now. My job relies on me not having a criminal record, and I can't trust her not to lie. So I refuse to put myself in that situation. She never apologized, never admitted she lied. It was only the testimony of other siblings that said I was sober and didn't touch a hair on her head or even raise my voice. Not the a-hole. You can love someone and not like them very much. You can love them and not trust them. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I completely agree with you. You can love someone but not trust them or not like them because of their lies. Not the a-hole. Honestly, you're going to have a conversation at some point on if you can even trust your little sister moving forward. I would personally not invite her to the wedding where there will be drinking and giving her perfect opportunities to make up stories about some random guest touching her inappropriately and such. Yep, OP has an obligation to protect her wedding guests from the attention-seeking lies of this child. Simple as that. It isn't safe for her guests to have her at the wedding. Additionally, OP should avoid bringing her husband to family events where the girl will be. Maybe just agree to spend time with her in the company of their mom, like a lunch date once a month or something. She may well have been traumatized before she came to the family. It's good that she's in therapy. One of the things therapy should focus on is consequences for actions. Not going to this wedding and her whole family not trusting her are consequences of her current choices. Poor girl. I hope she gets the help she needs. Not the a-hole. But OP cannot ever let your husband to be anywhere near your sister. She might accuse him for revenge. If anyone gives you grief about that, just remind them what happened to your brother and how he is still traumatized and now scarred for life by her actions. You never want that to happen to your spouse, who you love. I wish more people understood this. I was falsely accused, and it's terrifying because for so many people, it's an automatic guilty verdict. I luckily have a lot of good friends who knew it was bull, but it completely ripped my life apart. The girl was a BPD nut job, trying to alienate a good friend I had known for over a decade. It worked. But surprise, surprise, turns out she was a manipulative, abusive POS. She had false claims on 3 other people from where she lived before. She got him to go to all my family and friends spreading these lies that I assaulted her, and it's frankly disgusting how many didn't even give me a chance to defend myself. My mate deteriorated mentally from the abuse into an alcoholic mess who regularly drinks enough to be crying in public bathrooms, and it's just extremely sad. Then when it was all over and the truth came out, all the friends trickled back into my inbox like nothing happened. Nah, how can I trust you after this? Like I said, it completely ripped my life apart. Nowadays, I never let myself be alone with any woman I don't completely trust. It's just not worth it. Of course, despite 4 false claims I know of, there's zero accountability for her and she will probably do it again. Because why wouldn't she? I've talked with a lot of other guys with similar stories. And it's mentally traumatizing, especially for those who don't have the truth come out. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister to leave because she brought people into my house? I, 26 male, live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I work remotely and I prefer to keep to myself. My younger sister, 22 female, graduated college a few months ago and moved in with me temporarily while she applies for jobs and gets on her feet, since our parents moved south when we both left the house. We've always gotten along pretty well. The only thing I made clear when she moved in was that I'm not okay with people coming over. I don't host, ever. I don't care if it makes me weird, I just don't feel safe around unfamiliar people in my space. I told her that early on, and she said she understood. This weekend, I got back from a walk and there were 3 people I didn't know sitting on the couch. One of them was drinking from my mug. They were laughing, watching a show, super casual like this was their place. My sister just waved like it was no big deal and said, "Hope you don't mind." I didn't say anything. I turned around and left. I was outside for like 2 hours just walking. When I got back, they were gone. I told her I can't do this. I said I'm sorry, but I need her to start looking for another place to stay. She got really upset and said she didn't think it would be that big of a deal, that they were only there for an hour and they weren't loud or messy. I told her it's not about that. It's about how it made me feel in my own home. I don't think I should have to feel like a guest in my own space. Now she's staying with a friend for a few days, and my parents are mad. They say I'm being extreme and ungrateful, and that I should support her while she's trying to get her life started. They said my sister called me embarrassing, but I honestly don't know what else I could have done. It's not about punishing her, I just don't feel safe when stuff like this happens. So yeah, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You set a clear boundary and she straight up ignored it. Just this. It's not about being a bad host, it's about respect. She treated a clear boundary like a casual suggestion. If she can't respect a very simple and reasonable boundary, she can't expect to stay rent-free. OP didn't blow up. He handled it with grace. She's lucky he didn't throw everyone out on the spot. How are your parents trying to say you're being extremely ungrateful, as if you're not the one providing for and supporting her? It's the gaslighting for me. Who are they expecting you to be grateful toward? They're gone. You pay your own way. Unlike her, that doesn't even make sense. Not the a-hole. You aren't obligated to house her. You chose to be kind. She took advantage of the one rule you gave her. Her "hope you don't mind" comment implies that she hadn't forgotten that rule and was aware you'd likely be upset, and then also doubled down and called you embarrassing. Not the a-hole. Your house, your rules. You were clear about those rules. Whether she thinks it's weird or not, doesn't matter. I seriously don't understand how people cannot grasp this concept. I once helped out a friend of over a decade who needed emergency housing for him and his kid. Spoiler, it wasn't an emergency. We later found out that he just ignored his parents when they told their almost 40-year-old son to find his own place because they were moving, giving him at least 6 months' notice. Rules were simple: no guests, clean up after yourself. That was pretty much it. First day he moved in, less than 5 hours in the house, and he has his ex-wife over. His ex, who no one likes and no one wants around due to her behavior. He showed off our home like it was his, and he was giving a guided tour, which also made no damn sense because she had been at our place before. Told him he broke the rules of his lease and it was not okay. He lost his mind. His ex got involved and said it was a stupid rule. I pointed out, stupid rule or not, he agreed to it and signed the contract. She made it known she wouldn't respect the rule of no guests. Guess who had the biggest surprised Pikachu face when served with an eviction notice? Yeah, this guy. He even called the cops and fabricated some BS story to have them harass one of my family members at the house who has severe cognitive issues. He planned the timing for when no one else was home. Absolutely abhorrent. This was how he repaid us for helping him and his kid, who actually had his own bed for the first time in 10 years instead of sleeping with daddy. Used to love my friend. Now I wouldn't waste my piss on him if he was on fire. The entitlement of some people is unreal. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding even though I promised 2 years ago? When I, 32 male, was 23, I came into a bit of money from a tech startup I was part of. I wasn't rich by any means, but it was more than I ever thought I'd see at that age. Around that time, my little sister, now 29 female, was going through a rough patch emotionally and financially, and I told her one day, half joking, half serious, "When you get married, I got you. I'll pay for it." At the time, she teared up and hugged me. She never forgot it. Fast forward to now, she's engaged and planning her wedding. She reminded me of that conversation and said she started booking things, venue, photographer, dress, etc., assuming I'd cover it. Here's the thing, I'm not in the same financial situation anymore. I left tech and now run a small business. Comfortable, but not flush. On top of that, I recently had a kid and bought a home with my partner. Money's tighter. When I told her I couldn't cover the whole wedding, especially not the $30,000 plus she's planning, she flipped. She said I lied and used her emotions back then. I offered $5,000 to help, but she says that's insulting and not what I promised. Now my parents are saying I've embarrassed her because she told everyone her big brother was paying. Some relatives think I should honor my word even if it's hard. My partner thinks it's ridiculous and says it was clearly an emotional promise, not a legal contract. So, am I the a-hole for backing out of something I said I'd do years ago, or should I be held to it no matter what? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Withdraw your offer of $5,000 and tell her to figure it out 100% now. She's a big girl, an adult even, and has to pay for things. The promise was nearly a decade ago. I promised my siblings I'd be famous. And well, I promised my siblings I would be the next Tolkien. They are still waiting for a manuscript, haha. My wife and I got married without a wedding because we didn't want to waste $50K on a bunch of old people we don't care about, lol. We are trying to save to buy a home now. I got married 4 years ago for about $5,000, so OP's offer would have paid for my whole wedding. She's an adult. She should have had an adult conversation with OP before she had ever started planning. She's being an entitled and apparently braggadocious bitch, telling everyone her brother is paying for her $30,000 wedding without so much as a conversation with him is ridiculous. Not the a-hole. People make emotional promises all the time, especially in the context of family and during tender moments. Your life circumstances have changed, and she should have confirmed with you before dropping 5 figures based on a decade-old half-joke. You're offering something, not abandoning her. She's acting entitled, and frankly, it's wild to assume someone owes you a wedding just because they once said something nice during a rough patch. Spending other people's money is so easy. A simple conversation between brother and sister would have avoided this mess. All she had to do was remind him of his promise to help, ask if he's still able to help, and ask how much he's willing to give her. Then she will plan accordingly. He was 23 when he made that promise. What OP's sister should not have done is start planning an extravagant event at his expense. Now she's embarrassed herself and has to cut back on her spending. But that's the price of entitlement these days. OP's parents can alleviate the sister's humiliation by paying for the wedding themselves. Shaking my head. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter-in-law that I will never be her mother and to leave me alone? This is mostly about my daughter-in-law, Kat. Her mother ran out on her when she was a child, and she went into foster care. According to my son, she's currently seeing a therapist. My issue with Kat is that she has repeatedly stomped on my boundaries. She's a very touchy person, and she refuses to call me by my name and only refers to me as Mom. I correct her every time since I'm not comfortable being called Mom by her, and I want her to use my name. There have been multiple times where she's asked inappropriate questions, mostly about why I'm not close to my own mother. For context, my mother was horrible. Kat keeps pushing for details and insists I should get closer to her because family sticks together. She basically tells me to forgive my mom, and she doesn't understand not being close with one's parents. I've told her to drop the topic multiple times, and she refuses. Because of all this, I'm not a huge fan of hers. I've spoken to my son about it, and he asked me to be patient. I've also talked to Kat multiple times and asked her to respect my boundaries. She always says she will, but then goes right back to ignoring them. This is where I might be the jerk. My daughter Sam, 20, and I are taking a weekend trip. Sam has a medical issue and needs to see a specialist a few states over. She hasn't disclosed the issue to the rest of the family yet. She plans to when she has a firm plan. Somehow, word about the trip got back to Kat, and she called me asking why she wasn't invited. I told her it's an important trip and not a fun one. She accused me of lying, claiming it was a mother-daughter trip that she was excluded from. I told her again this is not a girls' trip. She wouldn't let it go and started demanding that she come, saying that she's my daughter and needs to be there. I said no again. She kept insisting, saying I am her mom and she has to come on this trip since she is my kid. That's when I snapped. I told her I will never be her mother. Just because she married my son does not make me her parent. I told her to leave me the heck alone, and that even if this was a mother-daughter trip, she still wouldn't be invited because she isn't my kid. I then hung up. My son says I need to apologize and invite her, that I am a huge prick to her, that I was way out of line and need to make it up to Kat. The situation has spread to the rest of the family, and everyone seems to have their own opinion. Sam is getting flack too, which isn't helping, especially since she doesn't want to disclose the reason for the trip yet. Am I being an a-hole and need to apologize, even though those are my true feelings on her trying to make me her parent? Not the a-hole. Your daughter-in-law is trying to use you to heal her mother wound instead of trying to build a relationship with you organically. She sounds insufferable, to be honest. That's 100% what she is doing. She is trying so hard that she is pushing people away from her. No one wants to be around someone who stomps on your boundaries and doesn't show basic respect to you. It isn't rocket science to call someone what they want to be called. Keep your hands to yourself or not bring up sensitive topics. Just reading about this level of boundary stomping was triggering my fight or flight response on a visceral level. I feel awful for Kat and hope she gets help, but OP has been patient much longer than I would have managed and is absolutely not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You don't just have a daughter-in-law problem, you also have a son problem. He is clearly enabling whatever Delulu world she lives in. Keep enforcing your boundaries.